Yeah, dude, and oh my god, I can't believe that you actually go inside of the world serpent's like body. Like I can't believe that happens. He's just like, okay, yeah, now you're going in the world serpent. Like, holy crap, man, that was amazing.
I can't believe the world serpent let us to go in there.
Yeah,
he just kind of goes down. Mir's like, oh yeah, he's willing to let you in. Go ahead. And the world serpent just decides to open his mouth and let you take a boat inside him.
yeah, that was really great. All the scenes with the boat, I thought, were done really well because it's just like you and your son, maybe Mimir. Or we didn't even talk about Mimir at all, but yeah, I thought that the boat scenes were great. They're really cool.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you said that because a lot of people are really complimenting the boat system in this game, and it serves a really, really important purpose. I love the boat scene. It's a moment where not only you just get to explore and see another part of the world, but it's always the chance for the kind of dialogue between your characters. The side stuff, it's usually, not always, but it's usually not going to be the pivotal information that relates to the plot, but it's a really awesome way to hear more about the lore and the world itself.
Yeah, and games need these kind of like slower moments of transition from realm to realm or area to area, and yeah, like and I like the boat parts because you're moving along, like you still have to navigate the river, but it's not like a serious situation. You don't have to be super focused on what you're doing, but they have this like really interesting banter going on, and some of the most important story parts of the game seem to happen like when you're on your boat, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because a lot of games now I think a lot of people in general think of traveling, like I'm going to call it long traveling. Going from an actual destination to another destination is kind of a waste of time or an archaic idea within gaming or something that's kind of ancient. Mm-hmm. But God of War and some games like it still show us that, hey, you can like completely have us go around the world. You can slow travel and have it be really meaningful. Like there's nothing quite like being in God of War when you just see these beautiful caverns and you're exploring all these new areas. So visually it's amazing. But yeah, you're hearing all this like conversation that relates to the history of your characters or the lore of the game. And it's just a really personal, touching, awesome experience. And it hits you on so many different levels.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. But so another aspect of the game that I thought went really well, and it kind of relates a bit to the combat that we didn't mention before, but just as like an addition to the story or just the game in general, is Atreus' role. And I thought that in the gameplay, am I adding an R? Okay, yeah. Atreus' role throughout the game is he kind of acts as your support and with his bow. And I thought that they did that really well, and it added a great little addition, and gave you an ability to aggro the enemies, keep them off you while like 5 are attacking you, but you can get Atreus to fight a couple of them or something, and I thought that really added a really interesting element to the game. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely liked Atreus as a character. I did like him in combat. I like that you could upgrade his abilities, and I like that he became more dynamic and more effective throughout the game, kind of like as he actually developed personally throughout the game. It kind of stayed in line, the combat in the story. But I do think that at the end of the game, I was just constantly kind of hitting square to kind of have him shock enemies so I could hit him.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was necessary, and sometimes I was kind of just like, ugh. Like, okay, I'm kind of sick of hitting square. Like, it was mostly great. I don't want to make it seem like it wasn't a good addition to the game. I liked the two participant combat system they had going on. I just thought at the end of the game that I was using Atreus in kind of a bland and thoughtless kind of way, where I was just kind of hitting the square button and having Kratos just demolish enemies as they were shot. But there was definitely some really intense battles where I had to use them pretty creatively. and moments where I was like way too engaged with Kratos to even really think of Atreus. And that was when I was very thankful that Atreus was able to kind of command himself at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make arguments either way about Atreus, but I think we can at least both agree that it wasn't terrible. It could have been potentially awful, but I think they did a pretty good job overall with him.
Yeah, and actually, I might bite my own tongue on this one, but I kind of wish Atreus was a little bit more vulnerable, like he had a health bar or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of don't at the same time.
Yeah, there were definitely moments where you're like, okay, Atreus should probably be dead right now. And he just wasn't. Like, he just like go in there and just like all these enemies are around him, and it doesn't seem natural. It was just a bit strange.
Yeah. And the Baldur fight at the very end, he was just hanging around Baldur the whole time. Yeah, he would be so dead if this is a real fight.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we mentioned a bunch of stuff we really liked about the game, but what are a few things that you think were lacking? Like, what was one that you had?
Yeah, I just want to preface this by saying that I really do think this game is pretty much a 10 out of 10. Like, I don't think that there's any complaints I have that really bring the game below that. But I do have a few minor things I thought that could have maybe been incorporated in the game. And the first one I would say is the presence of kind of wildlife or people outside of the actual playable characters or like popular NPCs. There were no towns. I thought there could have been a couple towns, even if it was just one or two. There could have been deer. There could have been birds. There could have been fish. There could have been so many things added to this world to kind of make it just pop a little bit more and become a little bit more alive.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that completely. Like, they could have added a lot of stuff to this game, but I'm kind of glad in a way that it is what it is, because what we got was just a very high quality game. I'm glad that it's not the game we got plus a lot of cities that were just kind of thrown in there. And I feel like that could have potentially been what happened. I think instead they kind of just took their time and just thought, okay, we're going to spend time and make what this game, like these assets that we want in this game really, really good. And we're not going to worry too much about having a lot of extra stuff. So it would have been nice if they had a lot of extra stuff, but I feel like maybe if they added too much, that the quality would have went down.
You know, I guess like when I say that, I don't mean they have to be fully fledged villages with like shops and mini games. I would have just liked to see some like passerbyers once in a while. Like maybe you would have fought them, maybe you wouldn't. Like kind of like when you play Breath of the Wild, there's people just kind of walking by you occasionally.
Yeah. Just
like a sign of life. Or even if you don't want to include extra people, like I would have liked to see more animals in the world. You know, whether you could interact with them or not. It would have been really cool to see like a fox or an eagle flying above you, or, you know, some more wildlife just to make the world seem a little bit more, I guess, realistic, because you're in nature so much of the game. It's kind of hard to believe that you would only have literally just two men walking without any wildlife around you.
Yeah, I mean, you had those like cinematic experiences with wildlife at the beginning. Like, do you remember that like boar that you pretty much like you almost killed it, and then Freya brought it back to life. But it's like it does make like those experiences with the wildlife a little bit less believable when like there's no other wildlife throughout the entire rest of the game.
Yeah, you have like a deer you're hunting and a boar, and outside of that, I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't remember seeing any other animals in this world.
Yeah, it is a bit of an oversight. It would have been nice if that stuff was included, but I kind of understand why, just because of limited resources, and they want to like bring quality in every asset that they have in the game. But yeah, I totally agree. That would have been nice to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, I still think the game's a 10 out of 10. It's a complaint, but it's not a big enough complaint where I think it really takes a notch off the game.
Mm-hmm.
But what is one of your downsides, or one of the things you thought could have been a little better?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's in the fighting animations, there's a bit of repetition, especially just like in terms of like some of the enemies that you're fighting. So the very first enemy that you fight is a troll, and you seriously see that movement pattern in a troll like maybe 20 or 30 times throughout the whole game. And it's just like, it's just, okay, here comes another one. Like you kind of just, you get so used to it. And it's not like a bad enemy. It's just like a bit overused. And I think there's a couple enemy forms like that are just so frequent that could have had a little bit more variety in the types of enemies that you encountered.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with that. And plus, riding the trolls was kind of cool the first few times you do it, but eventually I was just like, oh, I gotta ride another troll.
You gotta ride another
around me.
Yeah, and I don't know. Some of the enemies to me were just straight up annoying. Like I didn't like the Revenants. I don't know.
But I think I don't think you were supposed to like the Revenants. I think they were supposed to be annoying, to be fair.
Okay, maybe. But
I mean, they're horrible, yeah, because you have to basically hit them with Atreus with an arrow.
Yeah.
To even like have them be susceptible to your attacks. But I think enemies like that are kind of needed because if every enemy is kind of easy to hit and easy to defeat, it kind of fits that there's a stealthier magical enemy like a Revenant that is such a pain in the ass you don't want to see it. Whenever you see it, you're like, oh god, another one. But to me, I thought it was a cool addition to the game.
Yeah, they're all right. But okay, so then another another lacking aspect of this game is I do feel like they could have had a little bit more of the gods in it. Like there really weren't too many Norse gods in this game.
Yeah, I guess I would have liked to see more gods, but at the same time, if they are planning on making this like an actual trilogy of new God of War games, maybe they're trying to spread the Norse pantheon kind of across these games rather than throw all of them at you at once.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I would definitely like to see Thor, because they at the end of the game, like they super alluded to him, and it just seems like if there's another Norse God of War game, Thor is going to be in that game.
I mean, I think spoiler alert's like crazy here, but if you see the secret ending of this game, you see that Thor appears and he's basically ready to take Kratos on. Thor is he's a must in God of War 2. It would be an actual disappointment if you don't see Thor in the next God of War.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually really hope that Odin makes an appearance as well. That'd be really good.
Yeah, I guess that might have been my disappointment with the gods, is you hear so much about Odin, and he's in the shadows of all these conversations and all these happenings, and yet it never crystallizes. He just remains there throughout the rest of the game, and you defeat Baldur, and you keep hearing there's repercussions. Odin's going to be angry at you. Odin's rage, Odin's wrath, he's angry. But, like, you never see him, or nothing ever happens with it. And I at least wanted to see Odin make an appearance, even if it was, like, something minor.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It would be better if they've kind of fleshed out a little bit more of the Norse gods. But, I mean, what we did get was pretty good. I really enjoyed Freya. I thought that, like, Freya's relationship with Baldur, like, maybe it wasn't the perfect, antagonist of a video game, but it was just like it was interesting. Like Baldur was just utterly tormented, and his relationship with Freya was just you'd always be discovering different aspects of it throughout the whole game, and at the end it was kind of really the result was really surprising for me. I was like, damn.
For me as well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I did. I mean, I said this is a very mixed response for me, because I am disappointed, but I'm really happy with what I got too. Like, Mimir is really awesome as a third voice.
We didn't talk about Mimir too much, but man, I really love Mimir.
He's great. Yeah, he's definitely he's an awesome third voice to have, and I think almost essential with how quiet Kratos can be. Mm-hmm. And I really liked Baldur as an enemy. His invulnerability was interesting. Like, the way he approaches you is pretty interesting. He basically comes at you like nothing can hurt him, and you kind of find out by accident what's actually going to do him in. I really like Freya's character, like how she's kind of like a tortured soul. She has her history with Odin that's kind of revealed in the boat. if you keep going on boat rides, and you find out she's like has an undying love for her son. I don't know. I really liked all the gods we got. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, me too. But we're getting a little long on time. But just to close this out, what do you think about the significance of this game in the world of God of War, but also just PlayStation and video games in general?
I guess I'll start with God of War. I think God of War's significance is, in effect, a sequel and a reboot. It's an effective sequel in that it kind of keeps Kratos' legacy alive and it gives him a bigger purpose. But it's also a reboot in the terms of the mechanics of the game being reworked, the focus on a more personal story, and potential new characters, maybe being playable characters in the future. I could totally see Atreus as being playable for at least a portion of the next game. And I think that it's an awesome way to bring back an old series, keeping it intact. A lot of the stuff is the same. Some of the animations, the weapons, some of the runic spells. And I think it's a great way to keep the series alive while reinventing it. I think for PlayStation, it's just absolutely huge AAA game to have, an exclusive. Drives another spike into the Xbox One, kind of keeps Nintendo like having to think about the PlayStation 4 as an actual. It's still alive. The PS4 is not dead. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. God of War has a lot of potential to be Game of the Year. It's kind of it's a great game for PlayStation to have.
Yeah, and I feel similarly about all of that. I do. So my thoughts about God of War were, I was thinking about the fact that it's kind of like an older franchise being rebooted. And I think that is kind of the mindset of a lot of game developers these days. Like, I think there's a lot of legacy within the gaming world. And I think it's really cool to see respect given to kind of the legacy of where games have come in general. And God of War really reminds me of, I'm not really sure if you're familiar with it, but do you know the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel?
Not really.
It's a graphic novel published by Dark Horse, and it's basically Batman is like being a super old man who's like reluctantly brought back into the Batman universe to kind of just like kick ass, and he like kind of does, he really doesn't want to, but the situation just pulls him back. And I kind of feel like this is a God of War take on that. Like Kratos is pulled back into this world and he doesn't really want to go back. He kind of is distancing himself from it, and that's kind of why he's in this Norse world anyway, because he wants to distance himself from the old world that he was in, but he's somewhat just reluctantly brought back into it. And I think that's really interesting, and I thought that they did a really good job, and I think that this game will be remembered very highly for the PS4, but just in general for gaming in general.
Yeah, for sure. I call this game being Game of the Year in December, or at least potentially Game of the Year. I do think it might still be Game of the Year. You think the same, or?
I think so. I don't know. There may be a couple games out there that are potential competitors, but as far as I'm aware, I think that this game stands a really good chance, actually.
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely will be a nomination, if nothing else. Okay, guys. Well, that's about a wrap today, and thanks for listening. We appreciate it, and we're really excited to be here and happy to do the podcast. This was a huge podcast. We talked about a lot. We didn't talk about a lot, and I would love to hear what you guys think about our podcast. What did you guys agree with what we said? Disagree with it? Please let us know, and thanks for listening, guys. See you next time for podcast number 5.